So not knowing what this fall and winter holds, or if there will be a second wave of COVID or the pandemic gets worse, here on our homestead, we are taking measures and steps now to make sure that we're prepared for no matter what comes. You could say that we're really following in our ancestors' footsteps and the homesteaders of old, making sure that we have everything that we need for fall and winter without relying on the stores or relying on them as little as possible. So the first thing, just like the homesteaders of old, is taking all of our garden produce and preserving as much of it as possible. We actually increased our garden probably by about 25% this year, and we are doing more canning, dehydrating, fermenting, and root cellaring than we have any other year in the 20 plus years that we've been raising our own food. Now, I've also actually purchased some produce. My cherry trees are not producing enough, and I don't have a pear tree yet. That's one I definitely need to get, even though we've got a really good sized little mini orchard going on. I have even purchased those in cases from local farmers and put that up. So even if you don't have a large garden space, I highly recommend any type of fresh produce that you can get now, especially if it's in season. It's going to be better prices than it will be later, putting that up for the winter months. And the good news is, if nothing happens, which I hope it doesn't, you are getting food when it's at its freshest and when it's at its cheapest point and putting it up for your family. So you're saving money in the long run, no matter what happens. So the next thing that I'm making sure that we have on hand is all of our garden seed, not only for our fall garden, but next year's garden as well. I have no idea what's going to happen with our seed supply. A lot of us this spring and summer, there was some seed companies that ran out or just couldn't keep up with demand, and so things were slow in getting your orders processed. So we already seed save our beans, quite a few things actually. So here's our October beans and here's my Tar Heel green bean seed. So I've already got those, but I'm definitely making sure that I'm ordering way ahead in advance and anticipating the amount of seeds and the types of seeds that we're going to need that I'm not currently seed saving. So this is my seed storage container. I love this. I got it off of Amazon. I'll give you guys the link. I actually have two of them. I have this one filled and I'm getting ready to fill the second one. So I just write with just a small little permanent marker on them. But these are my beet seeds that I have. I've not seed saved for my beets yet. And so I've got quite a few different ones, but I'm going to be placing, so you can see I've already got 4 of these. 2 of them I've already used quite a bit. But I am placing my order to make sure that I have enough beet seed for all of next year. So that means next spring, next summer, and next fall's planting. So for a full 12 months, I just want the peace of mind to know that I have these on hand. Now, you may be wondering, well, how much do you know that you're going to even need? And I have worksheets that tell you how much to plant per person for a year's worth of food in my book, The Family Garden Plan. And you can get that worksheet though in that chart for free at familygardenplan.com. I'll pop a link in there so you can use that worksheet, and that's what I'm using and going off of that so that I know how much more I need to order based off of what I've already got on hand. So I know I need to get a lot more cabbage. We apparently are in love with cabbage now, so I need to get a lot more. But I'm definitely well set on my carrots. So these are the carrot seed that I saved from last year. And carrot seed will be viable for a number of years. So I don't have to worry about getting any carrot seed for quite a while yet. Now, some of the other things that we're thinking about and making sure I'm planned well in advance, and you probably know if you tried to order any of these this spring, and that is elderberries. And actually, elderberries, there was a shortage even before COVID and the pandemic on elderberries. Last fall and flu season, or I should say last fall during cold and flu season. I can only imagine what it's going to be this year. So my elderberries are not producing yet. They should produce next year. So I just stocked up. I got a pound of the organic elderberries, and I also got a pound of the Herbal elderberry syrup mix. And this is from my affiliate Farmhouse Teas. I'll have a link there, or you can go to melissaknorris.com/elderberry and it will take you there. But definitely, if you plan on ordering these and using elderberries, which I highly recommend, they have antiviral as well as immune boosting properties to them. that you place your orders now. So this is just one of the many herbs that I'm making sure we have on hand for our natural herbal medicine cabinet. We've got a lot of other herbs. A lot of them we're growing ourselves, and I'm also going to be doing a challenge. So if you are interested in learning more about using herbs as a natural medicine cabinet and growing them yourselves and how to safely use them, you are going to want to make sure that you are on my email list. I'm going to be sending out invites. We're going to be doing a natural medicine cold and flu cabinet. And there's going to be some free classes as well as a full-on challenge and course inside the Pioneering Today Academy with your membership. So some of the other things that I've got stocked are my immune throat tea, which is one that I don't go through any cold season without this. It's a blend that I made up. It has licorice root in it, marshmallow root, orange, echinacea. It actually tastes amazing. A lot of great things in it. So you can see I'm pretty well stocked on that. And then I've also got some of my leaves from last year, and I'm in the harvest mode right now of a lot of the herbs that we're growing ourselves, and that video will come out next week. So you're going to want to make sure that you don't miss that one on how to harvest your herbs to make sure that you are harvesting them and preserving them in the way that gives you the maximum medicinal benefits of that herb. So some things that I'm not growing enough of to harvest myself yet is echinacea root. So I've got my echinacea root there. This is peppermint. And then I've also got marshmallow root, which I am growing marshmallow this year, but it won't be large enough for me to harvest the root yet. So I got some of my marshmallow root. I have got some stinging nettle. And then I have got some red raspberry leaf. And then I've also got some chamomile and dehydrated orange peel and licorice root up there as well. Those are the ones that I tend to grab and always make sure that I have on hand. But I've got a lot more that I'm just getting ready to restock that we've been growing that aren't ready to go on the shelf yet. So even though we grow quite a bit of our own food, there's obviously things that we don't grow or we just don't produce enough of to take us through a year. So I'm making sure that all of my dry goods, and even not some of my dry goods, that I am stocked for at least the next 6 months. So when COVID first hit for most parts of the country, we began really experiencing it and going on lockdown and all those different things the first part of March. So at the time of this recording, we're in August. So that's been a good 5 months. So one of the things that I did was I took really careful tracking on how much during those 5 months I used of our different supplies. So things like this, like my wheat berries that I grind into flour. I also do use some regular flour and sugar. So I've got some all-purpose flour up here and some sugar and popcorn. Popcorn is a biggie for me. So we've had almost half a year, right? Almost 6 months of this. And so you should have a good idea if you bought things at the beginning of the pandemic or were unable to buy things like flour and yeast, and you've been able to get it now, what your family would go through during that time frame. So my goal is to make sure that we have enough of all of those items for at least another 6 months. And one of the companies that I've really been loving and using is Azure Standard. So I have a link, you can click that, and I've got more information below the video. You can click a link and go there. But what it is you put in your zip code and you find your drop zone. So once a week, my drop zone, I can place an order once a week and you have a pickup date. So your pickup date stays the same and you go and you drive and you pick it up. But what's great is I can get items in bulk for a lot cheaper and in a lot bigger capacity than I can get even like at our Costco or other places like that. And then the beautiful thing is it's in this big truck, everything's boxed with my name on it. I come and I pick it up. I don't have to wait in line. I don't have to wear a mask, and I put it in my car and I come home. So even if things when things hopefully go back to normal, I still will definitely be using this company. I'm super excited about them. Some of the things I got, we don't have honeybees, but raw honey is something that I use with cooking and with eating and also medicinally. So raw honey is one of the things that I use in my elderberry syrup. So you can check out that video on how to make that. It's really great I use it for when we're dealing with things with the throat and with cough, lots of things. So I got my raw honey here. Some of the other things is we grind our own flour. And so I can get this big old bag. It's 25-pound bag of organic spelt grains. You guys, it was half the cost that I've ever found it anywhere else using this company. So I was super excited. So this is a 25-pound bag grain of spelt. And then we're big old popcorn lovers here. So I have got organic popcorn in a 25-pound bag. So you definitely get your workout, you get your weightlifting in when you pick up your orders. So I've got a bag of that. And then for preserving and actually medicinal, apple cider vinegar, specifically raw apple cider vinegar. And I do make my own apple cider vinegar, but you can't use homemade apple cider vinegar for canning, for preserving, when you need to make sure that your acidity level is 5% or higher for safety-wise when you're canning. And so I got this 5-gallon bucket of organic raw apple cider vinegar to use. I know that this will take me through all of the pickling and all of the relishes and all the things that I will need for canning wise and vinegar, it doesn't go bad, right? It doesn't expire. So this will take me through all of this summer's preserving and well into next year. And then I can use my homemade apple cider vinegar for more of the medicinal and cooking and things where I don't need to have that exact acidity level there. So I was really excited to see that you could get your apple cider vinegar in this large amount of bulk. So one of the other things that you want to make sure you have on hand is some type of entertainment. So we, speaking of popcorn, love to do family movie night. So usually one night a week, I will pop up a huge thing of popcorn. We sit and watch the movie together as a family, but you can only watch so much TV, right? So as we head into fall and winter, without sports, and our kids are going to be homeschooled this year, and there's just a lot less activities than what we used to have. I want to make sure that we've got plenty of things on hand to keep us occupied and for entertainment. So family game night is a fun one. We got this, actually, we ordered this during COVID, right when it first started, and it's family edition Trivial Pursuit. Obviously, it depends on the age of your kids, on your different games and that type of thing. My kids are older, so we really have been enjoying this one. This has been a lot of fun. We love to play card games together, just kind of think and make sure that you've got stuff on hand, or maybe look for some new games if you've been playing the same ones over and over again. Some other things is sewing. So I don't do a lot of sewing in the summer months because we're so busy with the preserving and just getting everything ready for winter in a normal year. But especially this year, I want to make sure that I have enough needles and thread, yarn if you plan on doing like crocheting or anything like that. I plan on doing quite a bit of quilting. So I have some material already in my material box that I keep on hand from doing past projects. This was a quilt that I finished last year, which is just a throw quilt. And then I also did this type, which is just a fleece or flannel, different type, more like a rag quilt like that. But making sure that you've got things on hand for those projects. So quilting patterns, obviously material, anything like that, craft projects. Just thinking ahead because supplies may be hard to get. I know with all the masks that are being made, actually fabric has been hard to come by, and the fabric prices are really expensive right now. So if you come across any good deals or you see estate sales or anything like that, just think about and snag some of that up for some wintertime projects. And speaking of wintertime, beyond doing these types of hand type skills, you want to make sure if you've got livestock that you are sufficiently covered with their needs. One of the other things, if you have livestock and even pets, that you want to make sure is that you have got enough feed to take them through. So we already have to feed hay during the winter to our cattle, so this really isn't anything new. We always get the hay in the summer. We have 32 of these large round bales. We usually winter over about a herd between about 6 to 7, and so we actually always get extra because we never know if we're going to have a late spring where the grass doesn't start to grow if it's cold and we have to feed, or sometimes we'll have a little bit of drought conditions and have to feed earlier in the end of summer instead of fall. So we always make sure we have extra feed, and so that would be my recommendation. It's better to have too much than not to have enough. Now, normally I go to our local feed granary, which is about, oh goodness, I say local, but it's a good hour one way for me to get to them. And I'll buy like usually 1 to 2 months worth of chicken feed. So usually about 3 bags of chicken feed for our flock, which of my laying hens. We now have a rooster, so we now have 10 chickens. And that'll last me, usually about 3 bags of the feed will usually last me close to 2 months, give or take a little bit. But this year I am going to be going down. I haven't yet. That is on my docket to do next week. And I am going to be getting 10 bags of chicken feed, mainly because that's the most storage area that I've got that I can store, to make sure that I've got chicken feed to take us well into the winter, just in case things get wonky and I'm not able to get there or they're not able to get supplies. Now for our pigs, we kind of do the same thing. The pigs will actually be being butchered in the winter. We're actually taking them a little bit longer. They're the American guinea hog, and so it takes them a little bit longer to get up to weight. So those we're going to be butchering in January. But we purchased and just have out in our shed, it's called a super sack size of organic pig feed, and we supplement with things from the garden and apples and different things like that. But we still have in there on pasture, but they still need some amount of feed. So we bought a almost 600-pound bag of feed, and that should take us right about to butcher time. So for our other animals, we have a cat and we have our dog, whom you usually see running around playing. Normally I will just buy like a 50-pound bag of dog food, and we keep that until he runs out. But kind of the same thing. This year I want to make sure that we've got extra, so when I go to our local granary, they also sell dog food and cat food. I'm just going to be buying triple what I normally buy, so that we just have it on hand. And the beauty of all of this is if nothing happens, then I just don't have to go to town as often, and we've just got it on hand. None of it's going to go to waste or not be used. So if you want to learn more things about being prepared and growing your own food, definitely check out some of my playlists, as well as my free sourdough video series and my canning series, so that you can learn how to safely can and build up your food supply that way. And I'll see you next week when we are harvesting our medicinal herbs.